Hi there, this is David from Neuroth Audio. I'm very excited today to be showing you our new library, Boutique MooGuitars, a collection of 5 intimately sampled guitars for the modern producers and composers. Designed specifically for Kontakt, this library will work with the free Kontakt player and is ready for NKS keyboards. We created this library as a multi-genre, multi-style tool to create a minimal and emotional perspective with these guitars. Each guitar was sampled at low velocity with multiple articulations and multiple mood characters for the ultimate moody experience. So let's dive into what this library has to offer. To start off the walkthrough of this library, let's begin by taking a listen to all the instruments and articulations included. Here in the Kontakt library browser, you can find all the guitar patches and articulations. Starting at the top, we sampled a warm and intimate acoustic Gibson J185EC. For this guitar, we have 2 different articulations. We sampled this guitar both in the traditional way, as well as sampling the full set of natural harmonics. Up next, let's take a listen to the traditional sampling of the acoustic guitar. Now our next instrument on the list, we have a classic Fender American Precision bass. So let's begin by going through the articulations for this one. Up first, we have the bass harmonics. And here we have the picked version of the bass. And lastly for the basses, we have the fingered version. For the next guitar in the list, we have a nylon, which is recorded with a classical Orpheus Valley Solea SAC. So going in order, we're going to listen to the harmonics first. And now the traditional sampled way. Up next, we have the modern Stratocaster, also 2 different articulations. So we have the harmonics and the traditional way of playing. And the traditional way. And the last instrument on the list is our vintage Telecaster. And to wrap it all up, the Telecaster's traditional way of playing. So in that bit of the walkthrough, it gave you a brief preview of the guitars and their articulations. On top of just the bass sounds, MooGuitars was developed with a curated set of effects and controls to put the power in your hands to craft the perfect mood. So when you look at the GUI itself, there's 2 main parts to it. We have our instrument section, which is right here, which is going to display the type of instrument you have. So right now we're looking at an electric guitar, and below that you have your mood characters. So in the mood characters, you have 3 different types of moods. What we had been listening to with the instrument preview was the clean part. But there are 2 other options. You have mood 1, which you can click that to turn it on, and mood 2. So just to give you a reference of how each of these differ, I'm going to play the clean mood first. Now let's listen to mood 1. can see that has a bit more of a wobbly, distorted, and lo-fi sound to it. Now we have mood 3, or mood 2 of the 3. So that one even has a totally different character. It's a bit more funky and moody and weird. I really like using that one a lot. So now that pretty much sums up the instrument selection part of it all. To the right, we have all of our effects modules, different controls. We have our envelope ADSR. You have some layers over here, which we'll go into. You have a few different types of convolution reverbs, a few different types of creative echo delays. And then one of my favorite bits is the cassette module. So we're going to start at the top left over here with the width. So the width basically does just that. It's going to either give you the option of going mono or all the way wide. So let's listen to that. So as you can see, it does have two extreme sides, so totally mono or very wide. And right below that, we have our EQ profile. So right now it's just set to the normal, which is the flat EQ, but we have two other options, such as exciting, which is going to brighten things up a bit. And then we also have a moody EQ profile, which is going to dull everything. So we're going to set that back to normal. To the right of that, you have your envelope, just your basic ADSR attack, decay, sustain, release, also with a curve of the attack knob. And with this, there's a lot of interesting things that you can do. Pulling the sustain down, higher attack gives you more plucky sounds. So that almost sounds a bit synthy itself. And with sustain up, you can create more pad-like elements to it all. So just with the envelope itself, there's a lot of really interesting and creative things you can do to the guitars to get more unique sounds out of them. So let me just reset this back. All right, and to the right of the envelope, we have our layers control. So in each of these patches, you have 4 different layers to the sound. So you have your bass one, the guitar. So let me turn these off so we can go one by one through them. And then we have our pad. Turn that up a bit. So each of these pads is sound designed from the sound source. So you're going to have a different pad in each of these patches, basically. Now below the pad, we have our dust. So the dust just kind of adds like a little bit of like hiss and noise to everything. So we can try that, mixing that in with the guitar and the pad. I usually keep the dust pretty low. So the dust, it's subtle, but it definitely adds a bit more of lo-fi character to everything. Now let's turn those all the way down so we can listen to the last layer, which is our tape. So this is to really, if you want that lo-fi sound or kind of vinyl hiss to everything. So let's add everything else back in. So the nice thing about these two layers, the dust and the tape, is that they're set up in a way that you can play all of the notes without the dust or the tape stacking and becoming really loud. So now moving on to the more effects side of everything, we have our convolution reverbs. So there's 3 different types. We have bandpass ghost, we have a cathedral, and then intimate. So the bandpass Ghost is a really interesting, unique convolution reverb. Let's just play it just to give you an idea of how that sounds at full blast. And now moving on to cathedral. Traditional type of reverb sound to it. And then last but not least, we have our intimate, which this is just going to put everything right front and center. Now let's move on to the echo section. So 3 different types here as well. You have a tape delay, lounge delay, and a pan delay. So let's start with the tape delay. And let's turn this all the way down. Just adjust that a little bit. All right, let's listen. Now let's take a listen to the lounge delay. This one definitely has a bit more of a lo-fi character to it. That one's also a bit more subtle as well. And then our pan delay, this is one of my favorites to use. So that pan delay subtly adds some echoes going left and right, almost kind of turns it into a reverb itself when you have a lot of notes happening inside of there. So that kind of wraps up the 2 effects of reverb and delay inside this instrument. But one of my favorites here in the middle, it's a cassette module. So this basically is replicating a cassette sound depending on how you mix it in and the rate, which is kind of the speed of the cassette itself. So let me put everything kind of just back off so we can listen to this and really hear how it's going to affect everything. So let's play it in just without it on. Let's start turning that up. So it's got definitely adds more a bit like kind of wobbly characteristics, kind of the same thing you would hear as if you were playing this through a cassette. Kind of band passes everything as well. And you also have this rate knob. So if you want to speed up the rate at which the cassette plays, you can do that here. Thing about this cassette module is the mix is going to be linked up to your modulation. So you can easily turn this up and down using that. So that basically sums up the entire instrument itself. With these tools, there's a lot of different ways you can affect and modulate the guitars to change the mood for whatever you might need in your piece of music. Now there are two, or really just one other little thing. If for whatever reason you are tired of seeing this move, same with the cassette thing, there's a little pause button here at the top, which you can give that a click, and now that has been turned off. Easily turn it back on if you like that, just by pressing that again. And then this little question mark button here is just to give you a little credits list of the developers, which is myself, David Roth, and Paul Salerno, who did all the recording of the guitars. To get out of that, you just click anywhere to continue, and we're back to the main page. So yeah, that basically is our walkthrough for boutique MooGuitars. I want to thank everybody who's been watching this. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at what we're doing at Neroth Audio. If you get this, we hope you love it. We'd love to hear what you do with it as well. So definitely send us anything if you want at info@nerothaudio.com. And we look forward to releasing more instruments for you. Take care.